Good Thursday morning, everyone. Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. Thanks, everybody, for joining today's weather forecast. And in today's forecast, we will be talking about a cold snap that will be moving through as we go into this weekend, the final cold snap of this week. And then we'll be also talking about ice storm potential as we go into next week with a rapid warm up. So if you are new to the channel and like detailed weather breakdowns across North America, hit the subscribe button down below and also help me get to 75,000 subscribers by the end of this month. And you can help me get there simply by subscribing to the channel down below and also pressing the like button. It helps out more than you know. Let's look at our temperatures waking up this morning and heading out the door. You can see it is cold again across the north central United States. We are waking up to temperatures on either side of zero, whether it's sub-zero or into the single digits above zero across the northern high plains up here into the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin. We have temperatures there that are on either side of zero. We have negative temperatures further to the north across southern Canada. That's where that true Arctic air is. And then further south, it's chilly, but that freezing line is settling across the Gulf Coast states and into the southeast this morning. And let's look at this. So as we go through today, the core of the cold air is across eastern Canada. That's that first punch of cold air we just got over with. But we have a second punch of cold air that will be pushing southbound as we go through late this week and especially into the start of the weekend. And you can see that represented across southern Canada with those darker blues. And then you can see that starting to bleed in to the upper Midwest today. So this afternoon, temperatures will be chilly further north. We have temperatures into the single digits and teens for highs across the north central states. We have the true Arctic air still bottled up into Canada there, and will be a little bit milder further to the south as well, into 40s and 50s across the deep south and the southeast going into the afternoon. But watch as we go into Friday. We have that second punch of cold air that will be pushing southbound across the upper Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and the Northeast. And you can see that represented by those blue colors here, whereas the western side of the country is more into that Pacific air, where we have more of that ridge building out across the western half of the country. And eventually, as we go into Saturday, we'll start to get rid of our second punch of cold air and see more Pacific air try to move into the central states by that Saturday time frame. So looking at your high temperatures heading into the day tomorrow on Friday, January 19th, here comes the second punch of cold air. We have single digits all the way south into the central states. So definitely seeing some cold air there. The freezing line settling down into the southern plains and the southeast on Friday. Waking up on Saturday morning, this is the core of the cold air of our second punch of cold air. This will be pushing into the upper Midwest. We could be seeing temperatures that are into the single digits below zero up here across these areas into the Dakotas, Minnesota, eastern Nebraska, getting through Iowa there, Wisconsin, and northern Illinois. And when you factor in just a slight breeze out there, these wind chill values could be 10, 20, even 30 degrees below zero. So likely needing wind chill advisories by your local National Weather Services to account for these very cold wind chills for your Saturday morning. Going into Saturday afternoon, we do recover into the single digits above zero and possibly the teens across this region as we go into the afternoon hours. But notice, even Saturday afternoon, that freezing line will be still across the southern plains and down into the deep south and the southeast. So it's really not going to move that far north. And looking at wind chills during the afternoon, we're staying below zero across the northern and central states for the afternoon wind chills there on Saturday. So another cold weekend is on tap. We are finally going to start to warm up next week. We'll get to that in just a moment. Here is your current weather conditions across the country as of this morning. We have a very quick moving clipper system across the Dakotas that is dropping some lighter snow, especially there into South Dakota. That will be moving southeast bound as we go through the next couple of days. And we already have winter weather advisories to account for that across portions of the Dakotas, eastern Nebraska, getting into Iowa there, and even winter weather advisories extending down into eastern Arkansas, northern Mississippi again, getting into Tennessee, Kentucky, and then up there into portions of the mid-Atlantic. That that is because we have more icing concerns with some moisture moving up from the south going into the weekend. So let's look at the jet stream here. Today into tomorrow, we have very fast flow in the jet stream, and that is going to create a fast moving storm system that will be moving through over the next couple of days. And you can see that here in the form of a clipper system. It's bringing some lighter snow across eastern South Dakota, eastern portions of Nebraska, southern Minnesota, and northern Iowa as we go through today. We have some icing concerns, at least some light ice accretion starting across western and middle Tennessee going through the daytime hours. And then as we go into tonight, that system moving from the south and that clipper system will combine for a bigger type of snow event across portions of the Ohio Valley, enhancing some of those snowfall accumulations across eastern Illinois, getting into Indiana, Ohio, back into western and central PA here, into West Virginia and southern portions of Michigan tonight. That will be shifting across the I-95 corridor as we go into Friday. Places like New York City, Boston, down into the Trenton region, into Philadelphia, we'll start to see more lighter and moderate bands of snow set up on Friday. And then finally, as we go into Friday night, we'll start to kick off that snowfall further off to the east, and we'll get rid of that storm system altogether. Here is your snowfall accumulation now through your Saturday morning time frame through January 20th. Notice a narrow corridor of snowfall, but a potent corridor, especially once you get down here into the Great Lakes region with some lake-induced snows, and also the Ohio Valley, where that system meets up with the other one from the southern United States and creates a bigger snow system overall. So walking you through region by region, the Pacific Northwest, we are seeing some heavier snows out here, especially in those higher elevations. Washington State into northern Oregon, we could be seeing over 2 feet of snow additionally through your Saturday morning time frame in those higher elevations. That will transfer eastward into portions of Idaho, western Montana, getting into western Wyoming and northern portions of Colorado as we go through Saturday morning. Then that clipper system takes over across the Dakotas today into tonight. A narrow swath of about 1 to 3 inches of snow can be expected here across southern North Dakota through central portions of South Dakota, getting into eastern Nebraska, southern Minnesota, and Iowa here. And then the snowfall begins to pick up as that merge begins to take hold with that southern system and that northern system coming together across the Ohio Valley, and that will enhance some of our snowfall here to around 2 to 4 inches from northern Illinois, getting into Indiana here, Ohio, into eastern Kentucky, southern portions of Michigan, and then near the lakes, near portions of Gary, Indiana, South Bend over toward Fort Wayne, and then up here toward portions of Lake Erie into northeastern Ohio will enhance some of those snowfall totals with the lake effect snow. We could be seeing spots over 8 inches worth of snow in those snowfall bands. And then moving across the mid-Atlantic, this is Friday into Saturday morning, we can see some heavier snows into West Virginia here, into Maryland, northern Virginia getting a couple inches, much of the state of Pennsylvania, portions of New Jersey there into southern New York State, a good 2 to 4 inches of snow, possibly an isolated 5-inch amount or thereabouts. And then as we go into the I-95 corridor up here toward Boston, New York City, Hartford, we could be seeing some 1 to 3 inch snowfall amounts. Not a big snowstorm, but some decent snows as we go through that Saturday morning time frame. We also have to keep an eye on the icing threat. This is as that second system begins to move northward and merge into the first system that is diving to the southeast into the Ohio Valley. We have to keep an eye on the icing threat across portions there of Kentucky into Tennessee, because we could be seeing ice accumulations of around 1/10 of an inch, and that could be enough to make travel treacherous out here through your Friday morning commute. And looking here at our winter storm severity index, you can see we do have minor to moderate travel disruptions with that narrow band of snow through the northern plains, down into the Midwest, into the Ohio Valley, and eventually up through the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. And then we start to see more major, if not extreme, travel impacts where those heavier lake effect snow bands set up into western New York State near the Watertown region, Buffalo, back there in toward Erie, Pennsylvania, and then back there towards South Bend, Gary, Indiana. We could start to see more of that as we go through that Saturday time frame. Then as we go into next week, if you are tired of the cold, we got some good news for you. We have some above normal temperatures that are favored, but it will take some time as we go into next week. We'll be diving to that here in just a moment. It will be a very active period. So not only are we seeing some warmer weather moving further north than we have seen in quite some time, we also have some very active weather in the form of possibly rain, but even some wintry precipitation with this as well. Here is our snow depth as we go into early next week. We still have a deep snow cover across portions of the Midwest, into the central Great Lakes and interior New England. So any system that starts to warm us up and move further north, that could be running into some issues as we have that warmer air moving over the top of that deep snow cover, and that could hold temperatures down into the low 30s and create more of a volatile environment for some freezing rain and sleet to start to develop. So looking at high temperatures early next week, this is Monday, January 22nd here, there's the freezing line. Notice it's further north than we have seen it in quite some time, entering into the lower Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, and then back across the Central Plains. North from there, the upper Midwest, the central Great Lakes, into interior New England, we're going to be below freezing on Monday, temperatures likely into the 20s. As we go into Tuesday, notice the freezing line nudges its way further up to the north by about a half a state or so, and then you see that entering in toward portions there of the Midwest, the southern Great Lakes, and into interior New England by Tuesday. And notice Wednesday, it really doesn't move much. But notice the warmer air down across the southeast as we go into Wednesday. 40s, 50s, and some 60s returning. So nice warm up as we go into the middle of next week. Now here's where the concern comes in. By Sunday night, we have rain and moisture moving up into Texas Hill Country here, into the southern plains. Notice this pink area starting to show up. That is freezing rain and sleet, and that is concern across especially far north Texas near the DFW area and Dallas-Fort Worth, getting up there into Oklahoma City, Tulsa there, and even western portions of Arkansas near the Fort Smith area. By Sunday night, that'll be lifting further north as we go into Monday morning. The Monday morning commute could be a little rough here across the central and southern plains from Oklahoma into Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, and maybe as far north as western Illinois as we go into that Monday morning commute. And then that will continue to lift north Monday afternoon. So the afternoon evening commute could be impacted by that freezing rain and sleet further north into Missouri, southeastern Iowa, getting into west central Illinois, and that definitely is a concern. And then as we go into Tuesday, we lift that freezing line further to the north. That should allow us to change over to rain in most of our areas south of the lakes. But up here around the Great Lakes, still seeing some wintry precipitation, whether that's snow, sleet, freezing rain. We'll continue to see that there across eastern Minnesota, the northwoods of Wisconsin, getting into the UP of Michigan there, northern lower Michigan, and again into southeastern Canada by then. And then by Wednesday, we're just seeing round after round after round of heavy rainfall going through late next week across the deep south. So a very active weather pattern ahead. Looking at the EPS ensemble guidance, this is your European ensemble guidance. It does very well in depicting our weather patterns 7 to 10 days out, and you can see going through the end of the month of January through the 31st time frame, we are seeing some very heavy rains and flooding rains potentially across the deep south, especially with the heaviest of those amounts across the Gulf Coast. Places like Corpus Christi in Texas, up toward Houston, the Lake Charles region, New Orleans, getting in towards Mobile, and even Panama City could be seeing some of that as we go through the end of the month. And there is concern for some flooding as well. We have a slight to moderate risk of some excessive rainfall here across the southeast and eventually getting up there and toward the east coast as we go through the end of January. But we have to be concerned about that frozen precipitation. Notice across the Illinois Valley, getting down there towards St. Louis into the Missouri Valley, and then into the southern plains toward far north Texas. We do have a corridor here of potentially some decent icing as we go in towards next week. This is from model number 1. Looking at that with the snowfall, and notice model number 1 shows a couple inches of snow potentially there into the Midwestern regions from Iowa, southeastern Minnesota into southern Wisconsin and southern lower Michigan. Model number 2 is a little bit more bullish on the ice, narrow corridor in the similar corridor to the model number 1. But notice the snowfall with it is non-existent. So we are continuing to monitor the trends here. Things will be going back and forth over the next few days, but we will keep you updated on that next system, as we have the potential for a decent ice storm across the middle of the country heading in towards next week. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel down below, especially if you like detailed weather breakdowns across North America. We will continue to keep you covered right here on Weather on the Go. Make sure to press the like button down below. It helps out more than you know. Share this video with friends, family, and on social media, and I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their Thursday out there.